I didn't have this plan. Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll try and go to the CrossFit Games now. You know, like.
Well, you didn't even do CrossFit.
I didn't even know about CrossFit. I didn't even know what it was. Well, no one did. A mortar. We came under attack, and a mortar landed at my feet, literally at my feet. And I just don't know how I didn't die, but I didn't. A mortar. We came under attack, and a mortar landed at my feet, literally at my feet. And I just don't know how I didn't die, but I didn't.
Spencer, welcome to the Jedburgh podcast.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Fresh off competition.
Yeah, feeling remarkably okay, actually, to be honest.
I mean, how do you feel? You competed in the 45 to 49 range. How do you feel the day after the competition?
So we're 2 days after now.
Yeah, 2
So
days.
the day after, I was still a little sore walking up and down the stairs and stuff. Lower back a little cranky, but I do feel a lot better today. I do feel a lot better.
Nice. So wait, 2 days after, you're actually feeling all right?
Yeah, I feel okay. Yeah, I do feel okay. Yeah.
Wow.
To be honest, I feel like lower body was a bit hammered and lower back, but we didn't do much upper body, so that feels perfect.
Can you give us some of the highlights of competition? Like, what were your proudest moments, most excited about?
Yeah, for sure. So I think for me, the highlights would probably be not necessarily the best results. You know, I had a couple of sixth places and stuff, which were my best results. I think maybe the PR or PB, as we say in the UK, on the
we won't hold it against you.
Yeah, on the 5K run, that was good for me.
Ooh, that's very exciting.
Yeah, because I can't run in training, so to
what
be
was
able
your
to
5K time?
21 dead.
21.
20, yeah, which isn't amazing, but it's cross country. I don't
great.
run. I can't run.
We
in training.
ran the 5K.
Yeah.
The same course yesterday, and there's some hills in there. I mean,
Yeah.
It's not like hopping on a treadmill and going out and running a 5K.
Exactly, and there's pre-fatigue though. It's event 6.
Yeah.
Again, so you have to consider all those stuff, considering all that stuff.
Absolutely.
I was quite happy that even though that still landed me 8th in that event, I was still pretty happy with that. And then the gymnastic chipper was another great highlight. Again, another just really fun to be in the Coliseum and have a good event and have good fun. And then maybe also probably the last event in the Coliseum yesterday was just really great. It was a real tight race between the whole field really, and it was 30 bar muscle ups followed by 20 bar muscle ups followed by 30 overhead squat snatches, dumbbell squat snatches, which for old dudes is a pretty savage combination.
We saw that one. That one was intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
It is intense, and we're saying all this and we're throwing out how you competed over the last couple of days at the CrossFit Games, but now we're going to back up and talk about the real story and why it's so amazing and why we wanted to talk to you and look forward to this for the last couple of weeks. You served in the British military.
That's right, yeah, I was an engineer in the British military. Yeah.
One of our best partners.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. And you and I both served in Basra,
Yeah.
right around the same time. I think right when you guys were leaving is when my unit actually came into Basra, and then we ended up doing back-to-backs. And it was a great time because we just blamed everything that was fucked up on the British.
Yeah.
So we got away with a lot of stuff.
We were the last battle group to stay in the city. So for political reasons, we needed to be out of the city as part of the withdrawal, etc., and backed out to the contingency operation based in the desert. So it was a bit of the withdrawal was pretty hairy, I think. I think politically we had to, there's a lot of the time we're on a bit of a back foot, and then every now and then we'd be released to get back on the front foot.
Yeah.
So it was interesting times, but it was good times.
Well, and that withdrawal for you was a significant event because you were injured and absolutely decimated your leg.
Yeah.
And so talk about that operation and what happened to your leg, because you almost lost it. And the story here is that you're a guy who lost all functionality pretty much of your leg, should have really lost your leg.
Yeah.
And here you are, one of the best athletes in the world competing at the CrossFit Games.
Yeah, it's a good story. So it was September 2007 actually, and I was in the city, in Basra city, and we got basically attacked.
Which is a shithole.
Yeah, it is a shithole.
Let's just be straight
honest
about that.
Yeah, it was a terrible tour. We had a lot of casualties, and one afternoon, essentially we came under attack and a mortar landed at my feet, literally at my feet, and I just don't know how I didn't die, but I didn't. So I sustained injuries in my right leg. My right femur was obliterated. My right quad was mostly blown off. I had a femoral artery bleed in my right groin. Shrapnel to my left groin, shrapnel in my left leg. My stomach was blown open. I had to have bowels and stuff removed. Had a punctured lung. Other shrapnel injuries to my chest wall. My thumb was blown off. My right forefinger was damaged. I deafened, partially deafened. It was pretty bad.
I'm so confused looking at you. Oh, okay. Your thumb is gone.
Yeah, it's gone. Yeah.
I didn't realize that for a second.
That's a grip thing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I was
pull up snatches, no problem.
I was badly injured. I was I was kept alive, sort of, in the field by some close friends and some field medics. And then
the work those guys do is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. It's absolutely amazing. There's a whole other story to that, about the training behind that, etc. But
training and then the will to save your brother.
Yeah, and the application of that training, amazing. Well, one of the guys that really saved my life, throwing the blood clotting powder into me and tourniquets and all that sort of stuff,
which burns.
Yeah, I got him because he worked for me. I got him on his in-theatre medics course about a month previously.
Really?
And they didn't want him to go on it because of his because we were so busy. They didn't want to let me release someone off ops for like a 2-day course back in the main contingency operating base. And I pushed hard for it. I said, no, we've got to get it. We're out every night. We need people in our teams that are medically trained as well. So they put him on it, and he saved my life. So it was cool.
Wow.
And then the chopper should not have come in. When it came in, we were still under sort of indirect fire and stuff when the chopper came in. So, I owe him and loads of people a debt of gratitude, obviously. But and on the Casevac out, I kind of faded out twice. Brought back, resuscitated twice. On the
faded
10-minute
out, like
trip.
Died.
Yeah, on the chopper on the way out, absolutely just gave up. Really, just wanted to go to sleep.
Were you unconscious at this point?
Yeah, well, I was fading in and out of consciousness. So
right.
I was fully conscious for the whole thing and just battling.
Right.
And then after about half an hour, when the Casevac sort of came in and the chopper came in, I suppose I was just fed up of fighting, really, and became very relaxed and at ease with the whole situation, and started sort of drifting off to sleep, as it were. And I was very, very acutely made to wake back up by the medics on the chopper, sort of slapping me around and punching me around a bit, and not letting me go to sleep. And
you can laugh about it now.
Yeah. So, yeah, that whole experience, and then I got into the Casevac, into the operating base, where there's a more major like field hospital, and underwent sort of major sort of surgery there, and then about 18 hours later I was flown back at low level to the UK, to a big hospital in Birmingham. Yeah, and that's when more surgery. I was in a coma then for about a week, I think, and then more surgery happened then, and yeah, two and a half years of rehabilitation, really.
Wow. So where do you go from there, being just like barely put back together, realizing like how is your life going to change?
Yeah, exactly. So my whole life I'd been quite a high achiever in sport. I was promoted, in the army fairly quickly and all that sort of stuff. And so, yeah, it was a bit of a reset. It was obviously a bit of a struggle. So I spent, for my family as well, so, you go away on operational tour and you have like a 3-month build-up, 6-month build-up really, and then you go on the tour, and so you're out pretty much for a year. Well, I was probably nearly out for 3 years, because I went on the operational build-up, and then I did half the tour, 3 months, which a lot of my friends still hammer me for, just doing half the tour before I got Casevac out. And then 2 years in rehab, so you're away from your family a lot. So I was in a hospital, a military rehabilitation hospital near London called Headley Court, where injured soldiers coming back from Iraq and Afghan at the time. It was quite a busy centre, rehabilitation, and like I said, I spent 2 years there. It was like a 4-week block on, and then you maybe get to go home for about a week, and then you go back in for another 4 weeks, and that continued for the best part of 2 years. So trying to learn to walk again, and undergoing further abdominal surgeries and things like that, and just generally trying to get back on my feet. Yeah.
Talk about your mindset at that moment. I mean, as you're in rehab, you're starting to come to grips with, okay, well, number one, I didn't die, thankfully.
Yes.
And now, what's going through your mind in terms of what are the goals become at that point?
Honestly, in my mind, I had just massive gratitude. I felt so lucky. It's unbelievable. I'd seen too many friends on that tour die through what seemed like one guy died. He got hit by one piece of shrapnel, punctured his chest wall into his heart, dead. And considering all the injuries I sustained, I just felt lucky. I honestly just felt lucky. I didn't feel remorse, resentment, anger, anything. I just felt really fucking lucky. Then I felt really determined to do something in my life. So I suffered a little bit as well from kind of like survivor's guilt, I suppose. I didn't realise that's what it was for a while, but it probably was for a good few years. Still a little bit now. But the overarching mindset was to not waste the fucking opportunity, I suppose. That was my overarching mindset. And I think like the physical training and all that sort of side of thing and the mental toughness has just come, I've kind of had that my whole life, so it's just doubling down on that really. Having a focus, I suppose, to double down on that, yeah. I didn't have this plan, I know what I'll do, I'll try and go to the CrossFit Games now, like a year.
Well, you didn't even do CrossFit.
I didn't know about CrossFit, I didn't even know what it was. Well, no one did. No one did, did they? 15 years ago, whatever it was, no one really knew about CrossFit. So I stumbled upon a CrossFit gym, a few years after, like in 2010 or 11. And, got injured in 2010. I stumbled across a CrossFit gym, and then it was just a very slow process of just doing sport again and doing fitness, and just over years just got a bit better and better. Focused.
We had the chance yesterday to sit down with Heather Lawrence, who's the director of sport operations for CrossFit. So in her role, they're designing a lot of the programming and the workouts that are put up on the website every day, that the gyms are doing, that you see here at the games. Coming back from an injury like this, I mean, these movements that are required in CrossFit are often, they're foundational, but they're complex at times. Talk about making that progression from just being able to walk again and being able to stand. How do you then go from basic daily life functionality to, I'm going to incorporate in these very complex movements at a very high level?
Yeah, so when I walked into the CrossFit gym, I couldn't jump. I couldn't jump. Like, I didn't know I couldn't jump because I didn't try to jump. I was still trying to learn to walk and stuff like that. I still used a cane a little bit when I first started in my first CrossFit gym. Not all day, every day, but when I was tired and stuff like that, I was still using a walking stick or a cane. And I remember one of the first workouts came out, had a jump in it, and I stood and looked at like an inch thick 5K plate, and I couldn't jump to it. I was like, my plyometric ability is just zero, it's learning to walk again and stuff. And that was weird. And then, runs and things would come up, and I just couldn't do it. I was just shuffle along or whatever, and just really slowly, just over just a lot of time, just built it up slowly, and my range and stuff was terrible through my hips and my knee and things like that, and just very, very slowly made adaptations and stuff. And it's a long game. The thing is, I've been doing CrossFit for like 12 years. I qualified for the games in 21, and I've obviously qualified again in 23. But that is one thing that frustrates me is when people come into a CrossFit gym and they get annoyed they can't do something. I'm like, man, you got to put some time in. Like anything really. If you want to be good at anything, right? If you want to be a good runner, you can't just turn up to your first run and be good at it. You got to put the work, you got to put the reps in. And so that's what I did, and then after 3 or 4 years, I thought, I was getting better and better, and I definitely obsessed about it. I definitely trained too much, but I probably have to do more mobility than most people, more recovery than most people, and that's just a fact. I can't not do that stuff. If I don't do, half-hour recovery a day and stretching and all the rest, and build all that in, it just doesn't happen. I can't function. So it's all a layer principle. It just happens over a long period of time, of just persistence. That's what it is. Yeah, like I said, I couldn't do anything when I started, but it's just that layer principle. Oh, now I can jump to a 5K plate. Oh, now I can jump to a 10 kilogram plate. Oh, now I can jog, and a year later, you're like, oh, I've jogged 400 meters. You know what I mean? It just takes time and persistence. Yeah.
You do CrossFit for 2 or 3 months, you might not see the numbers change on the scale. You might not feel like, but if you can show people with data, like you're actually improving, you just hit a PR, you're getting better.
Gym owners were able to just basically click a button and get all the resources and tools that we were using for our gyms at a fraction of what it would cost them.
Like if gyms provide a better product on the floor by having better coaches, their business is going to be healthier. They're gonna have better retention and have all those other features, and coaching is a skill that needs to be developed. We are, I would argue, the most product-focused company in our space, and the way we create value is by we build products. In 2012, we told gyms to put TVs on their walls, and we got laughed at. And go in any CrossFit gym in the world now, and you're probably gonna see a TV on the wall. But we're just constantly pushing the envelope with innovation.
Yeah.
Were there any movements that were a particular struggle to get back that had
like things like pistol squats on a leg where you got no VMO, for example, or it's really hard. So there's definitely adaptations there. Certain pulling movements, with not being able to complete your grip and things like that, are very really hard. So there is, there's definitely is, and also. I've only recently discovered through medical analysis that one of the reasons I get knee and hip pain is because I have an internally my femur, where it was obliterated, was pinned from top to bottom, and it essentially where they bring the bone back together, the bottom half of the bone is 30 degrees externally rotated. So when if I look like my hip's in the right place, my foot is going to be turning out to the right. 30 degrees, and if I correct my foot, my hip's going to internally rotate 30 degrees. So all the physios forever are telling me, no, square your feet up, don't be lazy with your hip, and so I am. I'm bringing my toes in and everything, but the whole time I'm internally rotating my hip. So then you tell me to squat. Imagine if I tell you to squat like this with an internally rotated knee, you're going to struggle with that. So that's how squatting is for me. But CrossFit is squatting.
Almost every exercise.
Almost every exercise, like it is squatting. So I don't know, you just got to overcome it. I suppose through ignorance, I just bastardise movements, but meeting the standards, and got get to a point where you can do them. And I have actually worn away my hip now too much because of that, and my knee because of the the imbalance. So I'm having surgery this year. 7th September I'm starting with some abdominal surgery that's overdue, and then once that heals I'm going to have my femur cut back in half, the nail removed, the rotation corrected, and then repinned, which is pretty major surgery. But it's no good going to the CrossFit Games and then not being able to walk when you're 50, is it? I mean, I need to do that, so I need to do that surgery. So from now for the rest of this year is all about surgery and recovery, and then see if I can see what kind of recovery I can make from that.
Yeah, that's a huge deal, having that big of a misalignment.
Yeah.
So now that you're aware of that, do you have to squat and just allow your foot to be turned out because that's how it's aligned?
I'm just a bit less harsh on myself, constantly bringing my foot back in. But I've adapted this way, obviously, now for the last 12 years. So I'm just going to carry on doing what I'm doing, because it's got me this far, hasn't it? And so I just carry on doing what I'm doing, and then hopefully when the correction's made through surgery, then shit'll just feel easier. I hope things will just feel easier. Like, one of my biggest problems is I can't run because imagine that misalignment. My foot turns out and my knee just gets destroyed, and it swells up so badly. The juice isn't worth the squeeze. It's not worth me bothering in training because then I can't do anything for days. So I train to be fit in other ways on the ergs and stuff, and running is that one thing and running and lunging just really damages it. So I can't do it. So I just have to shoot for it when it comes up, and I'm hoping I can fix all that, moving forward. So it's quite exciting, really. Let's see what happens.
Gotcha.
As Jessie and I have gone through our CrossFit journey this year, we've talked a lot about the balance between focusing on form and function and doing the exercises correct versus getting out there and just getting after it, giving it everything you have and generally getting it right, but pushing that threshold, right? CrossFit's big on the threshold training. Obviously, you can imagine that Jessie's very good at being disciplined and tempering the fundamentals, getting on me especially about, hey, maybe you back it down a little bit and do it right.
Yep.
And I'm always like, come on, let's go, get after it. I'll push it. So we talk about that a lot.
Yep.
When you're competing and you have to make these adaptations because of the physical nature of what you've gone through, what's in your head? Because you now have to balance, hey, the competition may have somewhat of an advantage, right? Because they're not missing half their leg at one point, right? So maybe their threshold could be a little higher and they're not thinking about those limitations. What's going through your mind when you're in the heat of the competition? Well, is it all out or is it?
No, it's totally all out, obviously. So training and competition are obviously two very different things. That's the same in any sport, right? So I try to train with as much integrity of movement and all the rest of it in order to stay healthy, fit and move correctly. And then when you do that enough reps at that, the idea is that becomes so ingrained that when you layer in the intensity in the competition environment and all the rest, then that sticks and you stay safe, healthy, move well, efficiently and do better. That is the principle of CrossFit, right? So the intensity comes last, all the great movement comes before that. Now where I have to do some adaptations and where, for example, in that last workout, that dumbbells overhead squat movement, I couldn't even do that last year because of my hip mobility and stuff. And so, my left knee was caving in a little bit on the last set of reps or whatever in the Coliseum. I don't give a shit. I'm not there to look pretty at that point. I don't want to move like a fucking idiot, but sometimes I'm just trying to race a bit, right? So I don't care. I'm going to meet the standard, right, of hitting the depth and standing up to full extension. But I'm never going to train like that. You're not going to see me doing that in the gym, like just because my friend wants a little race. You're not going to see me break down the movement like that. But on the very rare occasion where I'm at the CrossFit Games, I might move a little bit like shit on that one workout. Well, so what? Because it's 30 reps versus in training thousands of reps. So that's how I sort of strike the balance, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Very important principle for people who are watching you and inspired by you in competition. Yeah. In the gym, when you're training, you're focusing on your form and building 100%. That muscle memory. And when you take it to 100% effort, form goes out the window sometimes. To some degree. A little. Yeah. But when you're in the gym, you're perfecting it. Yeah, and it's only and only some movements will the form, where basically physical limitations are creating a little bit of breakdown in the form. I'm not going to break down my form in movements where I don't have a disability, sort of thing. And that principle is so important because that is the longevity. This is why, if in general, injuries come from poor movement, don't they? In general, there's more to it than that, obviously. With overtraining, overuse, not enough rest, poor nutrition, poor hydration. The list goes on, right? But in general, if you move well, you're 90% of the way clear to being healthy, aren't you? And progressing further. The minute you don't pay attention, the minute you let, your ego or your ego get ahead of you in the gym, you're fucked. If you start racing or lifting too much beyond your ability, etc., you're on a quick ride to injury, I think. Whoa! So do you need to take note of that? Is that how it works, Fran? I don't know. That's what you were hinting at maybe at the start.
That's the hardest part.
Yeah, it is, of course. Yeah.
And that's, you're right about longevity. It's got to be about how am I still able to do this in a year, 2 years, 10 years. Yeah. That's what we got to do. Yeah. We were talking yesterday. We were strategizing yesterday before this workout we did with the Warrior Fitness team in the afternoon, and Jessie said, "How are we going to approach doing this?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to take 2 a leave, and I'm going to go out there and get after it."
Yeah. there's always a ton of stuff you can totally swing for the fences on, right? That's cool. Yeah.
You got to prioritize when are the moments that you're going to risk it and put it all out on the line.
Also, there's something I coach. So I obviously I train CrossFit to a high level. I coach CrossFit at my gym, and I also have another job. But when I'm coaching, like, we talk a lot about this. Like, it's very easy just to get into the sort of gung-ho, just everyone beat their chest and go bonkers in a WOD, but it's not even doable. I've learned from this over like 12 years. You can't go all... If someone said to a runner, right, we're going to do running club 5 days a week, and every single session is sprints, they would look at you like you're stupid. They'd literally... But that's what people think CrossFit is. Come in, tear your fucking shirt off and go bonkers every session 5 days a week. It's like, no. Just pick and choose 1 or 2 sessions a week to do that, right? And the rest of it is work on your form, cruise the WOD at 80%, make the focus, how good can I make my pull-ups today, not how fast can I do it. And then once a week, I'm feeling tasty on a Friday, rip your shirt off and go for it. You can't do it every day. And people just can't get their head around that. And if you put the analogy of like a running club or something like that in, it makes perfect sense, right? Imagine you turn up at running club and the coach every day, every session, every day says, right, we're sprinting. We're doing a 10K at threshold as fast as we possibly can. No, it doesn't happen. And you can't do it. So there's no point in even trying to do it. Right. And the same applies with CrossFit. Don't try to do it. It's not possible. Don't do it.
Right. Not only is it not possible, that is not the way to optimize your performance.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's another long and great discussion. But yeah, it's absolutely not the way to optimize your performance. Yeah.
Now, how do you decide which days are hard days? Is it planned and periodized, or is it intuitive how you feel that day?
Both. Yeah. So definitely planned and periodized. Through the season of working with my coach for the athlete program. It's definitely periodized. Strength periods and periods ramping into the games where you'll focus more on just upping intensity in the actual workouts and WODs and things like that. But a lot of the season is building baselines back up, building cardio baselines back up, getting efficient on the ergs again, and for most people, things like running, and then as I say, building just a real big base, looking to constantly move the strength numbers slowly, which you can't do all things all the time. So if you're leading into the last 6 weeks of the games or something, you can't be going super heavy all the time trying to build your base on your strength, because at the same time you're trying to build your aerobic capacity and speed and fast twitch and everything for WOD. So it's a real delicate balance. It is all periodized, and it is all it's all programmed through. More so in GPP for general classes, it's not quite so periodized. It doesn't need to be, for general CrossFit and general community for general classes, but there still should be some structure and some strength phases through it, and it's not random, is it? It's varied. It shouldn't be random. But when you start competing at a higher level, it becomes very periodized, So yeah, there's almost seasons,
How do you know when, or how do you plan when to taper back a little bit? Because you don't want to be always increasing.
Yeah.
How long are your cycles before you'll take a light day?
Yeah, it often depends. So, for example, you might do like a 4 or 5 week sort of period of building strength in a certain movement, and then you'll deload, have a bit of a deload week where you're backing off intensities, backing off the pressure, the speed work, to recover essentially, and then go into another block, or that might be a 5 day or a week deload. It might be a 2 week deload, whatever, or you might have a natural break because a competition comes up, so you'll back off a little bit and deload into that competition, so you're a bit fresher for the competition, stuff like that. But if you're trying to get to the games, the amount of times you compete is a lot less. So when I first started when I first started trying to compete at CrossFit, it's not a bad thing to do quite a few competitions, because you got to know how to get better at doing a competition, So, but once you're trying to take it up another level, you have to knock back how many sort of competitions you do, and you have to really focus on a season that leads you into this outcome of ultimately arriving at the games. So that's more of a that's how it works. Your season changes. Yeah.
Do you notice that when it's scheduled that it's time to deload, does that coincide with when your body feels like it needs a deload? Yeah.
It should.
Okay.
So if you've been on the program long enough and following these training cycles, you should be talking to your coach and you should be like, okay, I feel good. So it's all so if yes, that's exactly what should happen. Of course, you should be sort of working together, understand, right, we're going to start a strength phase, I feel good, and then you'll be like, the last maybe week of your strength phase, you're like, I'm fucking struggling, like this is hard, this feels way too heavy, I'm missing the odd rep here and there. It's like, that's okay, because that's you've got to get to the place where you're starting to break down to make those true improvements. And when you're up around, and when you've been doing it for years, not just like in your first year or two, you might be getting PRs all the time, month on month, because you never squatted, and then you start squatting more, you're going to get better a lot more, a lot quicker, a lot faster. But after you've been doing it 10,
phase.
12 years, you're, and as you're aging as well, sometimes for me a massive result is to lift is to not get a P. I might not ever squat again as heavy as I did when I was 40, but my relative squat now is, if I can get near to that, then that could be a massive PR. Do you know what I mean? So again, as you age up, you've got to start changing the way your mindset works as well.
Yeah.
So a win might not be your best ever squat you've ever done because you're 45, but it might be your best squat in the last 3 years. Well, that's a fucking massive bonus, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's all about managing your sort of understanding your limitations as well and where you're at, I suppose.
Yeah. How do you stay motivated when, I know going for the big PR, the best I've ever done, is such a strong driving force that keeps me excited about every workout. How do you keep that same motivation to keep going when you're not in a cycle where you're likely to get your best ever?
Yeah.
What keeps you going?
It's a really good question, that. Because if you're not in a strength cycle, you're in some other cycle, whether it's focusing on a bit of rowing or your cardio or gymnastics, a bit more intensity and volume with your gymnastics. Mm-hmm. So, literally, I'm always after something. You're always chasing something.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, getting a quicker 2K on the row. You might not have as big a clean and jerk as you had 2 years ago, but your 2K row time is 10 seconds quicker. You've got to get to the place where you're always just trying to nip away at everything. Do you know what I mean? You're trying to just improve at everything. So you might not get stronger on this cycle, but you'll get quicker, or you'll link a few more muscle ups or something. And it's the same, right? It's still PBs, isn't it? It's PBs by volume, by number. It might not be one big strength number, or it might not be your fastest 5K time, but there's ways to find PBs. Do you know what I mean? To motivate you. You could be like, I'm doing a dumbbell squat snatch work today. Last time we did this, I was shit at them, and I was hardly hitting depth, and I looked like a mess. And now I'm doing them, and I look pretty sweet. You got to just fucking make PRs up.
Yes.
You got to. You got to make. I believe you should never leave the gym without a win, and it's not a PR. You can't PR every day.
Right.
But you can find a win in everything. You can find a win somewhere. Yeah. Whether that win is, I'm never going to lift at capacity today, but I'm going to film myself doing a technically wicked snatch. And then you'll leave there. I felt snappy today. I felt really good. I moved really well today. Just leave with a win.
Nice. So at the beginning of workout, you maybe will give yourself a couple benchmarks to be like, if I achieve this, this, and this, those are all wins for today, and they're just achievable.
Yeah, totally. And exactly right. Yeah. Some days you'll get this something that you can shout about, and some days it'll just be, no, you know what, I felt really smooth today. It was pretty sweet. Yeah. I came in with a bit of a sore back, and I'm leaving feeling good and move well. That's a win, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's smart. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what you got to do.
Yes.
For longevity, especially.
Yeah. I'm working on that.
Yeah.
That's a cool one.
That's the tougher bit for a lot of people. Is to I suppose a lot of people want to be able to chalk something on a board saying they nailed this, when psychologically you can get some massive wins without without needing it to be a PR. Like,
Yeah, the psychological game is,
massive.
yeah,
It's massive in CrossFit. It's everything. Well, in sport, in any sport, high level
Yeah.
sport, like it's all or performance, whether that's military, job, work. It's all the psychological aspect of it is the difference between the winners and losers, really, isn't it? I think.
yeah. I always find the middle to be the hardest place to keep going, and the maintenance and stuff. Like if I'm at the top of my game, or if I have a chance of winning or beating myself, like the energy is so high, the excitement, that's like the easy place.
Yeah. If you can smell blood in the water, it's easy, isn't it? When you're just like bobbing up and down in the ocean, it's fucking hard.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah,
It is,
yeah.
definitely.
But you give yourself ways that you can win every day.
Yeah,
Then-
little wins, yeah.
And that's the new driving
Yeah.
force.
Even sometimes, like, knowing you're tougher than other people is a win as well. Like, just so the fact that you got up at 6 when you really didn't want to go and do cardio at 6, and you got a long day in the office, and then you got to train at night. The fact you got there and you just put your hoodie on, and you're in the corner of the gym grinding, take some sort of like a bit of a win away from that you're tougher than most people you know.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Still got to go do hard things.
Yeah, do
That's what
hard
it's
things.
about.
Yeah.
Wake up and make a commitment to do hard things. And you've got a couple of hard things coming up. You talked about now. You're going to go from here, and you're going to have surgery to correct the femur. What's the goal post-surgery?
So I've got to spend a year. I need to spend a year properly. It's probably going to do me a favour. I've been fucking chasing this shit for 12 years. Like, I could probably do with a year of not smashing myself to pieces. You know, so I've had a few injuries in the past. I've not been plagued with injuries, but I've had a few injuries in the past. And I've just turned them into a massive, like, growing opportunity, you know, to, like, learn about shoulder rehab, learn about lower back pain. I mean, twice in 12 years, I've had a period of about 2 months where I've sort of tweaked my back and then had to learn about rehab, and then I can pass that on massively to, like, members and stuff like that. And they come to me and go, "So actually, I know how to help you." And so you can take some massive learning opportunities from that. And I'm going to take some big rehabilitation opportunities again on this next surgery. I'm going to totally try and rebuild. I'm going to, like, do a massive strength phase for 6 months without being too stressed about, oh, but what about my fitness? And I'm going to try and rebuild, like, mega strong, and have a year of. I'm going to do like CrossFit a few times a week, but I'm not going to CrossFit every day. I'm going to be on a real good strength and rehabilitation program, and I'm going to I'll try and come back to the game. So now I want to come back to the games having my femur recorrected. That's the goal, isn't it? I'll go for that.
Smart.
See what happens.
It's inspirational. You know,
Yeah.
not most people who've gone through what you have it would have been enough to walk. Some of it would have been enough to be in a wheelchair. And for you, it's about coming to the games, then getting fixed to 100% or as close to you as you can, and coming back. It's awesome.
I was told I wouldn't run or walk properly again and stuff. So one of the physios that was in the rehabilitation centre, the intensive rehab I was in for 2 years after surgery, a friend of mine called Dale Walker, he's recently been treating me again, like before the games and stuff. And we often laugh and talk about it because at one point he couldn't get my knee to bend like even like 90 degrees, and I had to go under the knife. I had to be put to sleep and have what they call like basically an aggressive manipulation where they just rip it into position, into range of motion, tear a few bits and bobs in order to like achieve that. And it just kept happening. I just kept not being able to bend my leg and stuff, not even enough to ride a bike and things like that. And it was just like, I'm never going to run again, I'm never going to do this and that. But like I say, fuck that. I was determined for that not to be the case. And over the years, it just shows if you just keep persistent, you can achieve anything, can't you? Like physically, mentally. And yeah, I'm almost perversely quite looking forward to having this operation and be like, right, how does this feel? Okay, so now I've got to do something cool again. I've got to try and come from the back of the field again from nowhere and fucking rebuild myself physically and try and get back here. See what happens.
It's incredible.
Yeah, cool.
As we close out the Jedburghs, now the test question. Okay.
Sorry?
Now's the test question time. Okay, so the Jedburghs in World War II, they had to do 3 things every day to be successful. They had to be able to shoot, move, and communicate. You probably heard those through your previous career. If they did those things with precision, if they were the habits, the foundations of everything else they did, then they could focus their attention on more complex challenges, like arming the French resistance. What are the 3 things that you do every day to set the conditions for success in your world?
Okay, yeah. That's a cool question. So, unfortunately, it's not shoot, move, and communicate anymore. But actually, I'd say communicate is one of them. So, but I'll start with, well, for me, I suppose it's, I suppose the first thing is about routine. So it's like a drill, I suppose, like the military, like just making sure that you plan ahead. So making sure if you want to be successful, you have to have really good routine through, you know, how does my day start? I'm going to take on a litre of water to start the day with some salt. I'm going to make sure I've prepared some breakfast, lunch and dinner so that the foundation of everything, which is nutrition, isn't taken to chance. So I suppose it's preparation there for fueling for the day. So solid preparation for fueling for the day just breeds success, I think, throughout the whole day in anything, whether that's being fueled for work, fueled for the gym, fueled for just having a good day. If you leave that shit to chance, you're just taking chance on something that you don't need to.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of planning, a little bit of preparation, and you're squared away. Don't have to be a saint with it, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying you at least have to have a fucking plan and think about it, right? Yeah, so what you're going to eat and drink for the day needs some thought and recognition. And then for me, it's about, I suppose, I wish I had some time to actually think about this one because it's worth a bit more deeper thought. But I'm going to go with, planning your nutrition and fueling for the day. And then also having a plan for the day. So making sure that you're not just taking things to chance. You've got to make sure that you've got your work routine planned. You've got to find time in order to, or carve out that time to do your training, carve out that time for your mobility. Don't leave this shit to chance. So again, my wife actually diarised her day for the next day, the night before, because otherwise she's just scatty and she won't get shit done.
Yeah.
So and I don't actually have to write things out, but I definitely have a plan. And so again, in order to achieve anything, I'm busy. I get up early. I might coach at the box at 6 a.m. and then I've got to go to work from half 7 to half 4. An ops manager, busy job, regional ops manager. And then I've got to squeeze like an hour and 2.5 hours training. Then I've got to coach in the evening 3 days a week. Then I've got to get some mobility in before I go to bed. So there's no time for TV or any fucking about. The weekend I might chill out a little bit, but so it's the plan, the routine. Yeah, I suppose off the top of my head, they're the main 2 things really. It's all about planning and routine.
Planning the routine.
Yeah.
And communicate.
Yeah, and even plan time to not have anything to do. I know it sounds weird, but
no, that's a good one.
Yeah,
no,
to elaborate on that, plan to not be doing anything on Sunday.
Yeah,
Why?
and be okay with that.
I've got to be able to chill out and maybe watch a shitty show on Netflix or go for a long dog walk with the missus. I've got to be able to do shit as well, not just be a weirdo.
Yeah.
Or a total weirdo.
Well, it's been awesome talking to you. I mean, what you've done, what you've been through. I mean, thank you for your service. As
likewise too.
I mean, we wouldn't be here without the UK.
Yeah,
as Americans in general.
I think we can safely say the same back from a military perspective.
But it's been awesome getting to know you over the last week or so. We've been going back and forth and meet you in person here today. I mean, watching you compete was absolutely inspirational, and I can't wait to follow you, watch what happens post surgery, and see you back here.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, and I'll get back here.
I have no doubt.
I'll be back.
Amazing.
There's a sort of famous American that said that once.
Yeah, you did. You did.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
American Jedburghs went out to form the foundation of the United States Special Forces and the Special Activities Directorate of the Central Intelligence Agency. Thanks for listening to the Jedburgh podcast. I'm your creator and host, Fran Racioppi.
Join us next week for a new episode on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out on YouTube for full episodes, highlights, and other behind-the-scenes content. If you like what you heard, give us a like and leave a review. Follow me, Fran Racioppi, Jessie Graff, Talent War Group, and our CrossFit Games sponsors, U.S. Army, Wodify, GoRuck, and Hero Coffee on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, or X. Send your comments and inquiries to fran@jedburghpodcast.com. As a former member of Special Forces, the Jedburgh Podcast donates a percentage of all proceeds to the Green Beret Foundation, supporting America's Special Forces and their families. Thanks for joining us on this episode. How you prepare today determines success tomorrow.